G'day, welcome back everyone. What I'm going to show you how to make is a ghost button using Adobe Muse. So what a ghost button is if I go to my uh, website here, a ghost button is basically just a button on a website, and it's usually a shape with just a stroke and no fill, and with some text in the middle that as you hover over you can click, and it's usually a kind of like a call to action button as well, such as start, get started, view the collection, etc. Here's an example of a ghost button up here. In the top right it says contact. Some of these buttons, contain some animation as well, so when I hover over the top you can see that the fill goes from the bottom to the top of that square box there. Okay, so let's make a simple one in Adobe Muse. So the first thing we will do is we need to go into our widgets library, and we need to go into our buttons folder there and drag the state button out, the state button widget out, and what we need to do is we need to click inside where it says lorem ipsum, delete that on your keyboard, and delete that shape as well, because we just want the shape here. Now roughly position it to where you want it to go, and let's get the text tool and let's drag out a text box, and let's type in, choose a color just so that it's clear. In this example I'll just choose this magenta color. Now I'm going to type enter. Whoops, it's not working for me. If I click off, there we go. And I'm going to get the move tool, and what I'll do is I'm just going to get the text tab, make the text the size that I want. I'll fill that box up roughly. There we go, and I'll just neat and tidy the box up a little bit. Alright, what I'm going to do now is if I click, hold and drag this guy, I'm going to drop it inside of our widget, state button widget that we just dragged out, and that text will go into it, so now we can move them around together. Alright, and it's a good idea in Muse to keep previewing your work, so Command Shift E. Alright, and you can see it has some hover effects already added to it. I can't click it because I haven't made it a button, so if I go back there, let's go to, if we select the whole of the widget and we go to hyperlinks, add filter links, let's just set it to our home page, and that'll turn it into a button. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we want to alter the states. First of all, let's just select it. Over here you'll find you've got your states of the button here. So in the normal state, it's got, you can see up here, it's got no stroke and it's got a grey fill. So what I might do is I might take the fill out, and I might give it like a black stroke. Okay. Now the thickness of your stroke is here. I could have it really thick if I wanted to, but that doesn't look good. I'm just going to keep it at 1 point thickness. This button up and down over here, what you can do with this is you can round the corners. So at the moment you can see my corners are slightly rounded, but I might turn it into a bit of a pill button, so I'm going to round these corners quite a bit, so it takes on more of a pill type of a shape. Now if you want to select the text individually, you would click inside the button. I'm just going to make sure that it's directly in the middle. That's good. And now with the button selected, what you can now do is if we go into our state and we go into our rollover state, we can now change how this button will react when the user hovers its mouse over the button. So at the moment we've got a black fill, which I'm going to keep, and a black stroke, which I'll keep, and the fill I'm going to change to black. Alright, I'll keep it consistent there, and I think that's all I'm going to do. Now the other thing, let's just preview that so I show you what I mean when we do this. Okay, so as we hover over, the animation effect takes place and it changes, the fill changes to black, which is quite neat. Let's go back to Muse, but the other thing you can do is you can go back into our states. Let's go back into the rollover state. You can go into this tab here, transition, and you can fade the effect or animate the effect, so that instead of when you hover over, the animation happens in an instant, you can delay the animation. So if you go up here to the delay, it could be 0.1 of a second delay. So when I hover over, there's a 0.1 of a second delay before that animation takes place, and the duration from when it reaches I guess, 0% opacity up into 100. So when it goes from the delay from clear to black, will at the moment is set to 1 second. So I might make that a little bit quicker, so it happens quite quick, to maybe 0.3 of a second. And let's preview that and see how that looks. So we hover, and then there's that little bit of delay there, which I think is a little bit nicer. But you can play around with it to suit your needs. The other thing is, if we go back into that state, you can ease the transition in and out, or you can play around with these settings here. I haven't had too much time to play around with them, but ease seems to work good at the moment. That's about it. Now, what you could do is also you could go and you could select the text itself within there, and you could also go and do the same thing in the rollover state. If you wanted the text to change color when it rolls over, you could change it to, I don't know, if we go into our text tab here, we could change it to white possibly in its rollover state. We could also, and you can see in our preview it's changed to white. We could also play around with the transition as well. Okay, let's just see how that looks. It's probably not going to look very good, but there you go. It transitions and changes to white, so that's kind of neat. Anyway, you play around with it and see how you go with it. And so yeah, that's how you create just a simple ghost button using Adobe Muse. Thank you.